Go. Thank you very much. We'll start broadcasting. All right. We're broadcasting. We're right on time. And I'm happy to say that I'm in the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday, October 13th. It's amazing that the year is already, people are talking about Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and what happened to 2021? Oh my goodness, it's going fast. So John, I'm gonna ask you to get us in the mood. We have a great guest today and looking forward to this show.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves a wretch like me. Well, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. That's his favorite song.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. John, how are you, sir? How is
Austin,
everything in
Texas,
Austin?
Great city of Austin, Texas. Watching the world go around, looking at all of the things that's happening. I have a private plane out at the airport, but somebody wrote Southwest on the side of it for some reason. And I'm watching Southwest have a meltdown here, and we have so many people that's trapped in Austin. I'm supposed to travel myself, but it's pretty interesting to have the bird of Texas have an interesting situation like that.
Yeah,
we're still paying attention to the virus here at the University of Texas at Austin. I think we're going to announce South by Southwest again here in Austin. So it's a lovely day in Austin, Texas. We're expecting some weather tonight, but a lovely day in Austin, Texas.
Excellent. Llewelyn, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm concluding, Linda and I are concluding our vacation in Greece, in Crete, and we're coming home tomorrow to New England, East Texas and your parts.
Brilliant. You're finally coming home. That's great. So
Jim indicated that home is wherever he and his American Express card are. And I'm a bit the same.
So Llewelyn, real quick before I go to Jim, say hello. Give us the assessment high level of Crete, 1 to 10.
I would say 10, dear boy. It is a truly fabulous place.
Brilliant. I've always heard great things about it. I've never been. I know that
I've been to Greece many times. But never to Crete. And I rather missed it. I thought it would be just, sounds very blasé thing to say, but another Greek island. But it's almost a country in itself. It's the largest or the second largest island in the Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. And it has its own very ancient and very distinct history.
Absolutely.
And it's also, the people are delightful. It's very, given to tourism, but not destroyed by it, which is encouraging.
Right. Excellent. Well, we look forward to more on the detailed reports on that. Jim Curtin, how are you, sir?
Doing great. And speaking of current topics, I didn't mention Astros tickets for Saturday, and I'm not conflicted. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, so all right. I'm in Austin, but I'm going to be rooting for Boston. So.
That's awesome.
Well, good, Jim. We can get together because I live in Rhode Island, and it's got the restaurants Boston wish it had.
It certainly does. Speaking of Rhode Island, if I may put a plug for my nephew. Watch the Brown football team. He's the quarterback.
I'd like to just mention that the cradle of technology is probably here on Crete, where the most amazing original things were developed, including essentially a jet engine, all kinds of pumps, a precursor of the computer, and that was many years before Christ. Really extraordinary. I went to a little museum, very modest museum, but where somebody has taken the trouble to recreate from the literature all of these devices, some of which are delightfully disingenuous, like a very clever little arrangement where the priest arranged for the doors of the temple to open when they had lit a fire of sacrifice to the gods. But in fact, there was a little steam arrangement, which is why they opened. And in fact, they were very good at using steam and very good at levers of all kinds to make things happen. Lots of the science of leverage was very clearly understood.
Yeah.
And basically, they saw everything that was going to happen, thousands of years before it came to fruition, which is both exciting and humbling.
Yeah.
And Johnny, I hate to tell you, they did it without Austin.
Well, I always knew that there was a pre-run of Texas somewhere. And
The warm-up team.
that was the warm-up.
Well,
No.
I thought it was very appropriate, Johnny, that you sang Amazing Grace to open, because it is a song of redemption. He was a slaver who realized what a bad man he was after he had finished and made a lot of money slaving. And he got the message and became a priest and wrote Amazing Grace. So redemption, I just have this feeling, is a very fitting subject to raise with yourself.
There you go.
I think so.
There you
It's a lovely song, and I always thought that I composed it, but I learn something every day.
Yeah. So let me.
Well, I think maybe it was composed in Crete thousands of years ago. I don't know.
Let me introduce Jim Curtin to everybody that doesn't know him formally. So Jim is the CEO of GridMonitor, and we're delighted to have him. GridMonitor is a company that collects, organizes, and updates real-time video filings and news with curated archives and powerful search capabilities in an easy-to-use cloud-based platform. I understand that the platform is available today, tracking the ERCOT market, and it is also expected that it will be a national play at some point. Prior to GridMonitor, Jim was the CEO of many startups. He's what I would call a successful serial entrepreneur. He was the CEO of companies like Terra Packets and Aspen Data Resources, and GM and VP of software at N Computing, and CEO of Capstar Forensics, and CEO of Verde Workspaces, and many others. And he's actually, an early high-tech, old-fashioned guy. He started his career at Digital Equipment Corporation, one of my professional alma maters, and also worked at IBM. And Jim has a Bachelor of Arts, in economics from Harvard University. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Andres. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you, Jim. And I'm gonna start with you. The economy seems to be kind of trading sideways in many ways. There's a big concern about inflation. The oil prices are crazy since this administration took over. I don't know why things are not, doing as steady as they were before. Obviously, we have all these potential conflicts now with all kinds of places, China and so on, and what have you. But if you take that back to Texas, the Snowmageddon, Texas growing like crazy. The corridor here from San Antonio to Round Rock is 6 million people, expected to grow to 20 million. And as Joan Butler says every time we get together, all these people are moving to Texas, but they're not bringing their own grid. So it sounds like the grid business is up and running and crazy and growing like crazy. What's your take on your company the last 18 months with COVID, and how do you see the future for the next 12 months?
So my take on, wow, there's a lot there. Yeah. So the last 18 months, the company have been kind of using this time to retrench. A lot of just general life parallels business. And I think people who were prepared for this internal time were able to use it to great effect, planning, thinking, doing, making use of all the dead time. So we have taken our product from what would have been considered a rapid prototype 18 months ago to a GA level product during that time. And in doing so, we've overhauled the architecture and the foundation, the underpinnings, to be scalable and portable to other markets, but also leverage new technologies like natural language understanding, natural language processing, to try to generally drive the time to insight, the time to actionable information from 100 clicks to like 1 or 2 clicks, right? Or from minutes and hours to seconds. It's all about how do we use technology to eliminate the inefficiencies of information delivery, right? Get the right information to the right person at the right time as quick as possible. So that's the vision, and that's what we've been working on. But all that stuff you talked about, man, I have to step back if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because, the setup is good and all that stuff. I have all these random companies. But I think the real, if I may, things that you guys might want to dig into is the thing we sold to IBM, DASCOM, that kind of was a pre-internet. And that's what set access control for the internet. And that enabled the whole, bank statements, children's report cards, the whole vision of social fabric being repaired by the web. That's what I sold this guy a $5 million investment on. And that's what made that $150 million company. And that's why that's securing over 100 million people a day for IBM 10 years ago. So that was 20 years ago we did that. Then 10 years ago, we came in with what's called virtual desktop infrastructure. Okay, and that was when Citrix and VMware were still doing app servers and server consolidation. Okay, so we're coming with virtual desktops, pure discrete sessions. And where are we today with the cloud? We're living in a work from home environment 10 years later that relies on that technology. Right. So when you talk about leverage and you talk about time, you talk about the creeps, they probably had a VDI blueprint there, Llewelyn, too. So, because VDI is the precursor to all this consolidation. And Andres, it fits into your whole kind of what I understand is your vision of decentralizing the grid into regional autonomous centers. I lived from the mainframe to DEC, which was mini computers, but then I went to the PC, but then we brought it all together with the network, and now we've got it all in the cloud, right? And that's the world we live in. We have parallel lives with digital existences and physical existences. And that's what I'm passionate about, is how I try to use your visions of smart cities and technologies and sensors at the physical level, the things and the places. But I'm also passionate about the people side. How do you get them productivity, efficiency, dignity? So if you want to get me really started, start talking about self-sovereign identities. So anyway, so I'll stop there. But that was
Jim, I was really fascinated by how you allow the selectivity to trace anything. I went to your webpage and looked at how you brought what I call social physics in the old days and allow people to look at things real time. And I was also fascinated by the fact of how your algorithms can go pull in stuff in real time. And I was fascinated by the fact that in the future, this is what we're going to be managing. That is, everything is on a platform now. So I don't look at Austin, Texas as necessarily dirt and grass and rivers. I look at it as being on a platform. Now, my question to you on your webpage, you have all the stuff for ERCOT. You have a great association with ERCOT there. Have you looked at how you would interact your data with evolving firms in the Austin area? And that is the signal and the noise, the old book, The Signal and the Noise. What we're all trying to do is look into the future and track things real time. So wouldn't it be wonderful if you could have an interaction not only with ERCOT, but also with HEB, also with Tesla, but also with all of the other companies, not just in Texas, but nationally and internationally. So we can know what's going on, whether it is the supply chain, or whether it's talent, looking for people, because I can tell you now, Andreas, the problem that I'm encountering, I hear a lot, is nobody wants to come back to their job. So my question is, it seems that the algorithms are geared toward ERCOT. Do you have any interaction effects, if you will, with other types of enterprises?
Right, that's a great question, John. Thank you. I mean, so I'm getting the base product built and the foundation of it there, and I'm using the market experts to refine it and make it valuable. So lawyers, consultants, and lobbyists, and they typically work for the market participants, right? The generators, the retail electric providers, the distribution. I've recognized that the big load people, you know, obviously the industrials, TIEC, for example, Texas, and the Texas, the AECP, American Electric Companies of Texas, AEC. Those are all the industrials, and those are the guys that really drive the market, right? And then you get the commercials, the HEBs, and then you got the consumer retail level. And so I'm trying to bring all those at the lobby level. I'm trying to get them. My ultimate vision is to have them pass it on to their constituents, their clients, their member companies to use as a service. And this becomes basically the wheel of standardized information. My philosophy, and anything you guys have been around as long as me, 80% of what you have to do is the same across all your competitors. 15% is specific to your market participant type or your market type, and 5% is your value add, your company differentiation. So I'm looking at that 80% and try to drive that deep into both two sides, John, both into the enterprise as a force multiplier and knowledge, spreader, so people can have expert information at their fingertips easier across a wider range of skill levels. But also the cottage industry, the one or two people, the lobbyists, the lawyers who are understaffed, and they want effectively a virtual paralegal or a virtual concierge who has the tools to get things really fast for them. They just have to request it. And we can do it so cost efficiently that they're going to get it fast, they're going to get it cheap, and they're going to get it accurate. So
yeah, what I like about that is it's Jim, that you're describing again another example on how digitalization and decentralization is democratizing, and you're allowing the little guy be like the big guy, and
exactly.
hence unleashing creativity and speed to market, agility, right?
Everything comes from standards. I didn't go back to my roots, which is open software foundation, but people always think standards are boring, but standards allow creativity. If you don't have standards, you can't, you don't have a platform. Back to John's point.
Yep.
The smart city is a great one too. Yeah.
Jim, could you explain to me or give me an illustration of your technology at work, the sort of thing that the ordinary person could understand? If I were writing an article about what you do, I would need an illustration.
Right. So think of it, first of all, 3 levels. You've got a power user, an administrative user, and an executive user. So the first thing is the types of users you have. Second is the types of work they do. The power users do 2 things primarily, 3. They they submit filings, and they review other people's filings of relevance. And then the other side, there's judgments, there's meetings, there's public activities. They have to be at meetings and take notes or send someone to take notes. And then they have to digest that. So everyone at the power user level, when I say power user, the consultant, the lawyer, the people who need to know the details at the ground level or whatever level. So you got that level, which will pay a lot of money for my product because they're, want to get to the meat as quick as possible. They don't want to waste any time because they've got hundreds of things to do.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And then the middle, the administrative person is responsible for keeping a broad net of all the external relations, all the pieces of paper, collecting all the activities. So they're more like a paralegal office assistant, but someone who keeps everything organized. And this is a godsend to them because they just are able to get it all in one place. Then the executives like the news, they like the ability to watch the videos, they like the ability to search themselves and find themselves testifying. So all of that video stuff is the executives, the general counsel. So these are the 3 types of users and the types of work that they do that we make much easier and quicker. Does that help?
And the material that they get, is it all numeric, or is some of it in a written form?
Yeah, it's all.
Or is some of it reduced to charts and visuals?
Yes, and yes. So in the public meetings, they present presentations. The presentations are attachments. I scrape the attachments, put them together with the video, so you have them both on one page. We have meeting reports created so you don't have to watch the whole meeting. You just get a summary that someone writes. In the very near future, we're going to have AI generated 3-sentence synopsis of every meeting and the keywords and the lemmas associated with that, generated through an API call out to this engine that a friend of mine's company's, expert.ai. So it's primarily words, Llewelyn. It's like filings and briefs and arguments, but there's also a lot of data.
It's kind of automated journalism, isn't it?
Yeah, it's well, I kind of came up with the term regulatory information management. We're creating a new product. That's always fun, right? Yeah, when you're educating on something new. But it's this idea of, again, recreating the wheel. Literally, if you go to any of these practitioners in the market, they have Word docs, there's spreadsheets, they have bookmarks. It's all over the place. And they try to share this and organize and keep it up to date. It's ridiculous. It's, so we've been at this a long time. The problem is, having it complete, having it accurate, and most importantly, having it intuitive, right? So muscle memory is a real hard thing to overcome because people are just used to getting up and going to what they did for 15 years, right? And I'm sending them a morning email every morning with news stories to try to get people more used to coming into my site. And then when they're in there, they start engaging with their, reviewing meetings and filings and news and such.
So the way I think about it, Llewelyn and John, is GridMonitor, as it expands from ERCOT to PJM to Cal ISO, New England ISO, and all the energy markets in North America, it becomes the Bloomberg of energy trading.
Yes, I think so. I think the key is when you have this data, how do you make sense out of it? So right now we have the ability also to take pictures really and turn it into numbers too. That represent something. So I think the big deal is if as we move to managerial science in the future, that you need ideas, or you need guesses, or you need hypotheses to put the data together to solve what you want to solve. I think it'll be so much data, and the question is, how do you choose from the data to solve your basic problem? And that includes pictures. So right now, for example, we can color code pictures and assign numbers to those pictures and quantify those pictures also. So I think that as you go forward, you need to think about, you have so much data. The big question is, how do you make sense out of a lot of data?
If I may add to that issue, which has been a perennial problem with data, is how clean is it? So,
Right.
When I say that is another statistic I got is 80% of all kind of voice to text research and is finding clean, organized, updated data. But what right now, one of our projects is to clip the video. So we have 3-4 hour meetings. What I do is we have someone I do it sometimes, right? You go through the transcript and we can put in parentheticals that says item equals 1, and our product will then create a button where in the smart agenda, you just hit clip 1, clip 2, bring you to that timestamp where that sentence in the transcript is, right? So you're basically finding all the shortcuts to all the pieces. We're also embedding tags like, the proper control numbers, the proper acronyms and such. But what I'm finding is it's about 75% accurate. There's a lot of jargon and there's a lot of, accents. And so the translator is amazing, but it's not perfect. So there's still labor involved. And I think labor is going to be part of perfecting AI for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. That's what people don't understand is AI is crude, but it's wicked powerful, but it needs people to make it better. And it's an augmentation of people, not a replacement of people.
Yeah, and I think that the magic of AI and machine learning over time on this, Jim, is take for example the word peaker. A peak or a peaker in the energy industry around energy trading has nothing to do with a peak or a peaker in climbing or anything like that.
Exactly.
And so the context of the conversation, it really drives, right, how you do that cleaning. And so that domain knowledge becomes incredibly relevant, which means that the dictionary or the whatever baseline.
I think there's tremendous value there. Yeah,
it's tremendous. It's tremendous.
Yeah. So we're going to try to invest in perfecting that regulatory proficiency so that when people come to us, got that. And it might mix in, the rev.com model. They just throw a bunch of bodies at the stuff, right?
Right.
We're trying to teach the system while throwing some bodies at it, right?
Sure, absolutely.
It's exciting because once you get into that and you can have these summaries and these synopses, what got me excited about this, Andres, because I always thought this was moving a little slow and a little overhyped, but about 6 months ago, I was reading a story about like the Iliad, the Odyssey being summarized into 3 sentences, 6 sentences, 5 paragraphs, as good as any professor. And I called my buddy who just took over the CEO of an AI company. I said, is this true? He says, Jim, it's improving by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
And this is the amazing thing. We're in this funnel now where everyone wants to do, which is creating more data, more improvement, more competition. We live in an amazing time.
So the thing that I like about it, right? And if I go back to my days at Austin Energy and writing my book, The Advanced Smart Grid in 2011, is that, now, since then it's been, 11 years now, and things are accelerating at an incredible clip. And when you think about the mandate to decarbonize and the fact that electric vehicles is one of those answers to that solution, and we will have, maybe by 2050, 100 million electric vehicles trading with the energy systems, right? And how do you manage all these DERs everywhere they're going to be, solar panels, energy storage, and real-time controls, and human beings can no longer do this. And it would be a platform like yours with new features and new tweaks that will actually take over how these things
exactly, because nobody can keep up with it. You just need machines to boil it down to the signal.
Remember, we can learn a lot from financial models. When I was at Northwestern University a long time ago doing finance at the University of Chicago, where they took the models from physics and diffusion theory. And the thing about financial modeling, of course, as it moves so fast, is that we will always have financial crises because we don't have any behavior components in the models themselves. So what financial models have done is to say, okay, it's moving real fast. How do we manage it? So take a look at all of the physicists that's now becoming what I call social scientists, and they're writing about the movement of people rather than the movement of rocks. I think we can learn a lot by looking at those mathematical formulas and the problems that finance has had, how finance really tried to cure itself over the years. But the difference between the physics models is a lot of the physicists, those theories are lead pipe cinch, whether it's diffusion theory or whatever have you. And the problem with what you're going to do and what financial models are going to do, we will always have an element of humans involved. And the question is, how do we put behavior models into all of the data that's coming in? And that's a challenge for finance. It's a challenge for all kind of modeling, I think.
Very interesting. I'm glad John asked that, because I was going to ask you, how does your reporting system deal with the totally aberrant? If somebody in a meeting shot somebody, would your reporting system be able to accommodate that?
Oh, it's much less sophisticated than that. There's literally just streaming video that we collect. We parse out the text from the video. We run that through various things, and then we recombine it in Amazon. And you can find anything you want. We don't moderate, curate, judge, or filter. We just have the public meeting record. They're all public meetings, and we're just making them more accessible to the public, which again, John, in the spring, I was really excited. We're kind of going from sales growth. Every time we sell, we grow, but we're not growing as fast as I would like. Obviously, we want to grow fast because we can solve a lot of problems. But in the spring, I wanted to give out our whole, legislative side, because we take the ledge, everything in the legislature we're doing for the power industry, but we took the entire ledge. So as social issues in Texas needed more transparency, I was ready to volunteer to give that out as a free service to anybody who wanted to follow the legislature. And I'm still willing to do that. But we've made these underlying technologies to serve so many use cases. We're still focused on the ERCOT use case, but this can go in so many directions. Think about just for a second, we take any video, we run it through this strip, process, refine, organize. So if you do a Zoom meeting internally and you want that stripped into meeting notes, or if you want that dissected for sentiment analysis, or you want that put into some sort of blob of cultural analysis, it's captured, the information becomes liquid. the data liquidity, and that's what's exciting about what we're doing.
You're tagging things and is now incredibly searchable.
Mm-hmm. We're deconstructing the video so you can get at all of it, and we're putting it through AI for all these insights. Right now it's structurally, it's just there to be a better organizer. The basic value proposition today is we have 3 venues in one, so you don't have to go to 3 places. And we have 3 types of data per venue, so you don't have to go 3 places within there. So that's very basic. But what we're adding to it, this stuff I'm talking about, is going to be horizontal. It's not a vertical thing. It's horizontal. Will apply to any media type. So I'm excited about.
And to answer Llewelyn's question, if somebody got shot, we could have a machine gun in the room and an algorithm to pull a machine gun and turn it to the people who have the heat, and we can take care of that too.
Simple matter of programming. Yes,
just a matter of programming.
Yeah, everything is possible, right?
Everything is possible.
I'm just beginning to wonder if there'll be any work left for ink-stained wretches like myself who thought this is what we did. We went, we looked, we listened, we analyzed, we wrote.
Llewelyn, yes, it would be the best work left out for us. It would be you and I drinking and pondering what took place in the GridMonitor insights today.
Yeah, well, I think it frees people up for a whole era of creativity and productivity, prosperity. It's not the end, it's the beginning of a new era of, and I think we always need human perspective and emotion. So machines will give us data, but then we interact with humans with it, right? And we have fun.
Tell me, Jim, from your work, what sort of vision have you developed of the grid, both the Texas grid and the national grid? From time to time on this program, my esteemed colleague, John Sylvie Butler, has suggested the grid is very out of date, that we're using 1920s technology. Do you feel the grid is out of date? I do get the feeling that the grid may be rather static and all sorts of clever things are being glommed onto it, but the fundamental equipment it's being glommed onto really hasn't evolved as quickly.
No, I mean, there's multiple parts. There's the fuel supply side, which we saw the gas was a disaster. There's the existing infrastructure, which has, the capacity market, investment profile. And now you have this whole need for the resiliency and the new technology coming in. What I was going to touch on before, and I'll answer that. I think the grid is in a state of crisis that is awesome. Crisis is a terrible thing to waste, right? And so, the commission's coming in with the market redesign talks, with the demand response talks. I think they're talking all the right things. How they make the decisions and how they act will be interesting. But the market they're open to market, which I love about ERCOT. It's an open business culture, and it's a really great model. But it does need to accommodate change and needs to set boundaries, make ready to this point, like on EV chargers, right? They don't want to have utilities own the chargers. Who knows? I'm not getting political, but all of these decisions are going to be rapidly, how do we get EV chargers out to rural areas? How do we maintain evacuation routes? How do we make sure we don't repeat the mistakes we did with digification and all that stuff, right? So there's tremendous challenges in Texas. I don't know if we're progressive enough to invest proactively in it, but the business culture, I think, can do it. So that brings me to what I think is the elephant in the room, which we haven't talked about, which is the massive crypto resource load coming into Texas. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We talked to a company a month ago who, because I talked to all these people, they wanted my opinion. They were talking about bringing 500 megawatts, okay, going to 2.5 gigawatts by next year. This is one company. The DFW airport consumes 45 megawatts. These guys, one company coming in 500, going to 2.5. You know what reserve capacity that is for the market? If you pool that together, that would become the reserve pool of the economy, of the grid. But, you got to have the technology to take it in. And then from there, that's just a resiliency piece. But Llewelyn, what I think is exciting is Texas is innovative. And I think it is a big technology pioneer. And I think that the grid itself, I've been in this 3 years now. I didn't know what the grid was 3 years ago, but I've taken a master course with some of the smartest people, in the grid, learning this stuff, the fire hose for 3 years. And it's an identical parallel to the computer and technology industry. It's an absolute identical. It evolves a little bit different speeds, but it does the same thing, And so technology in this case is ahead of where the grid's at, but the grid's going to catch up and diffused and get behind the meter, with the whole microgrids and private use networks and demand response capabilities. The bigger thing I think is cool too, this thing with Ohm Connect and these people pooling demand in different profiles so they can, again, negotiate for better prices. And I just think the ERCOT's incredibly creative and vibrant, but it's due for an overhaul. It's got the first.
And you did have February.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the federal side, of course, is.
No, I was saying you did have Uri back in February.
Yeah, that was like. Yeah, I mean, it was a horrible, scary event, and loss of life was incredible. But I mean, to just lose life in a modern country because you can't keep your grid on, it's inexcusable, right?
So I want to add to the point that you were making, Jim, because again, a lot of people really don't understand this world. And it takes me back to all the work and planning and design that we did to build the smart grid in Austin for the first time and creating Pecan Street. And the point that you were making about the size of the megawatts or gigawatts needed. So ERCOT is only an 80 gigawatt system,
Mm-hmm.
And the nation is 1,100 gigawatts. There are 22 million registered vehicles in Texas. If they were all electric tomorrow morning, and they had 100 kilowatt hour battery, the need for power to charge all those vehicles will be 2,200 gigawatts. 2,200 gigawatts, just in Texas.
Is that 30 times, or what we're at?
Yeah, Jim, I think the point that the literature is making, what everybody writing is making, is that you're right. The grid now is where computers were 50 years ago.
Yep.
They're not automated at the grid edge. The SCADA box, we're still doing stuff by hand.
Mm-hmm.
We're still doing the load by hand.
That's right.
And I think the big question is why we have the technology to animate the grid. But the reason why we still go with the old technology is because it has been so good financially to people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, remember, this is a public-private kind of relationship. So we should have a situation with smart grids, as Carvallo would say, where we know where every piece of electricity is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need somebody to sit there and change the load. That's done automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will monitor how those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, Texas State, the University of Texas Austin is planning to get together on grid. I don't call it grid modernization. I call it technology improvement of the grid. And just ask one question. Can Texas continue to be the lead in energy as we try to reintegrate all of the clean energy back onto the grid? California is burning down partly because they could not get it all back on the grid. You can't do it by hand. So my question is, what do you think about the technology at the grid edge that we automated at the grid edge? And then, of course, you would have more data as things move, but we don't have to sit there at ERCOT and do it by hand. We don't have to monitor by hand.
Exactly. So it's kind of like decentralizing again down towards nodes that have some level of autonomy beneath them and can control until they have a problem they have to report up, they should be autonomous to do. And I think that's your design.
Yep.
But that I mean, I missed the whole question, but sorry.
Well, the opportunity for you, Jim, is that today you're looking at a simple setup with a centralized market, but I think over time there will be gazillion load signals or pricing markets at any node in the market, and your platform will become invaluable for me to know exactly how to trade.
So we're evolving in that direction. Right now, it's regulatory information, but we have projects in our, circle, if you will, that's at the site control box level. I mean, we really want to get down to the carbon emissions tracking from fuel through utilities, through meter, and then down to the IoT asset level, right?
Yeah.
So,
And what I mean by how to trade is not that you are the trading platform. Again, the stockbrokers and traders use the Bloomberg terminal information as their livelihood on how they make strategic decisions on how to trade, what
and
to
that's
bet
exactly
on, where to
right.
make the long-term bets, right?
Sorry, yeah, that's exactly right. And that's like I've got Goldman Sachs, I've got, the big people, they follow this stuff because when, like right now, just yesterday, the HCAP, the high system-wide offer cap, I mean, they just said it's 4,500, it's been 9,000. So, I mean, people have been counting on $9,000 and now all of a sudden they say, no, I think we'll cut it. Like that's going to have an effect,
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's why you need that information. It affects trading.
So Jim, real quick, how many people are behind this system today? Consultants or partners or what have you? How many folks are coding every day on this?
Yeah, we're a pretty lean team. We've got a half dozen people coding in various places. Yeah, it's kind of a lead, architect, and a number of people that job out, and then we have an operations team that keeps the videos running. Then we have a news creation team that does all the reporting from the 3 venues.
Right.
And then, we just kind of keep those 3 pieces, the product platform, the capture piece, the operations for certain. We have an admin one. We have 16 public contracts. We have the Railroad Commission, Texas Education Association, et cetera, and the PUC, right? So,
So who are you missing? Are all the munis and co-ops signed up yet?
No, we've got the big one. So, of course, all the major.
What about the IOUs? Centerpoint, Encore, AP? Are they?
They're getting there. We're working on them. We just had
what about the Hunt? What about the Hunt brothers?
No, mainly no, not yet. Please.
We need to get them all signed up. I mean, I think what you have is a tremendous value. I see, people. This should be a no-brainer. The parallels to all the benefits of all the platforms, and the Bloomberg model is really the easy one to realize. We will be, promoting and broadcasting this, for a long tail. But I'm curious about something in your business model. Your business model should be being a SaaS model as a software as a service. The growth possibilities here of going. The miners are welcome in Texas. Electric vehicles are welcome in Texas. We're going to grow from 80 gigawatts to 2,200 gigawatts as a service territory, and you can count on it. It'll happen. The question is when. You must be, be able to, raise any kind of money. So where are you? What's the story on that? Are you guys totally private, or you're raising money, or where are you at on that?
Yeah, we're definitely always looking to raise money. We've got a couple milestones we're looking to hit. When we hit those milestones, we're going to go and get that next round and expand significantly, because we're in that just post-validation phase where we've gotten our critical mass of users. Now we've got to take that story out and get that money, because, and I'll mark my words, the thing I'm doing with the AI, I've been working to get this for 3 years. We finally got this great engineer and his team and made wonderful progress over the last several months. And that, Disco.
Yeah.
These guys, same thing, just they're doing it for e-discovery, right? Same exact thing. I've got the regulatory lead. I need to get more momentum and get this adoption, because I can take it in to the more broad-based information management as a corporate platform as well, as well as an individual tool. So I'm excited about the potential and the money as well. Austin's a great place to raise money. I know lots and lots of people, but we've got a plan, and we're getting there.
Well, I have a question. What's happening now? You remember when we all had dumb computers and we were on then what we call the mainframe. Now the mainframe is called the cloud. And we know now if we go back to dumb computers, then we would not have all of our companies' knowledge and know-how walking around on our computers. So if you look at as a cloud or the mainframe, old guy like me call it a mainframe, but as the cloud gets more popular and more energy is needed to produce and store data, as companies move from the laptop back to the dumb computer, the ACT5A, if you remember that computer, that means that your business will boom, and also means that the process of protection of that data become much more relevant.
Mhm.
So it is very, very true that if I lost my laptop, somebody could break into my individual computer. But can you imagine that you having all the data for X1 to X5,000 companies?
Mhm. I love it.
And you have a breach. So what do you do for the protection of the hacking of the data? The other question is the hacking technology moving as fast as the cloud technology?
And so great questions. Great questions. I love it. So yeah, we've become, I mean, this is the bet we make with technology. We know it's very productive and convenient, drives tremendous profits and growth and jobs. We also know it's very insecure and it can come down in a second. I mean, I hate to be alarmist, but you know, it's vulnerable. We're always vulnerable. And we've mitigated this in many, many ways: redundancy, backups, firewalls, standards, protocol, everything. But to answer the second question, I believe that the attack surface is always expanding faster than people being able to plug the holes. So the attack surface is always expanding. New people coming in represent new attack points. Less literate users mean more attack points. More people transacting over different public infrastructures. So I'm not trying to scare people. There are great professionals. There's tremendous money being spent, and security is the gift that keeps giving. It just, because companies can never say, no, I don't want to be more secure. You know, so they're always going to buy more things. The cloud has become the best place to go to get, it's kind of like the moat, right? You get all this attackers in the wild now. You should seek security in a well patrolled, well guarded, well maintained place. The cloud is about as secure as you're going to get as an individual, and a small company and a medium company. So, you know, I say go for the cloud and get there and be secure, because you get more protection, you get more assurance, and that's the future. That's where it's all going to happen anyway. There's another project, John, which I'm doing. Andres mentioned Terra Packets. Yeah. So Terra Packets, if I may, is still a company I'm doing. I've got a couple of these, and Terra Packets does packet replays. Do you know what a packet capture is?
Yeah.
So network packet captures are the blood draws of the network. You draw the blood out, you analyze the blood, and you see what's in the blood, right? Right. We have a tool that analyzes packets. We also have a tool that replays packets in such a way that it can work with all 50 major vendors, with every exception they do. Some of them block it at the proxy, some of them drop it and don't even tell you, some of them send it here. You know, this product we build accommodates all those to the point where the underwriters lab of the network equipment manufacturers world was called NSS Labs. I don't know if you know them, Andres. They were up in Wild Basin.
Yeah.
They would take all the vendors and do bake-offs and then write reports and see how effective they are. So we were the tool of record for the SD-WAN, software-defined wide area network, and the next generation firewall. We're working right now on the SASE tool, which is to your point. So the SASE is the heart of the cloud security model now, right? And so we're going to be testing vendors' effectiveness in this. So the ultimate goal is to be able to validate risk at such a level that someone like Munich RE or whoever could offer a cyber insurance policy north of the 700 million total, the highest policies that's out there today. You know,
right.
The guy who tells me is, you know, if Deepwater Horizon had been a cybersecurity failure, that's $80 billion. And new rules in Europe make you keep capital on your balance sheet if you don't have an insurance policy. So that would be 80 billion of capital tied up. So this is a big problem the world's trying to solve, is cyber insurance, black box validation. How do you continuously validate an environment so you can risk it and price the risk?
Right. Yeah.
But let me ask a follow-up. Is that uncertainty or is that risk? That is, if I know what the data are, and I know I have lots of data. I can manage the risk. But are we talking uncertainty here rather than risk?
There's definitely, yeah, I blend them together a lot because uncertainty is where uncertainty comes in is a 0-day attack, right? You just don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
There's enough data on all the known attacks. If your patch levels are right and you're doing everything right, there's some degree of certainty, determinism that you will block all these. But the 0-day is the constant, kind of exception because you just don't know what you don't know. And so there is a level of uncertainty, but this is why people are so vigilant with red team, blue team exercises and, going into the community and sharing all their information. This is like life and death for banks and institutions and governments. And I wish Biden's agenda got more attention after the SolarWinds thing, because cybersecurity is in a massive state of risk in flux right now in the world.
Yeah.
And we didn't pay a lot of attention to it over the last several years, and it really needs to be.
You're exactly right. From autonomous cars to what you're talking about, the underwriting has to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
I was a consultant for a major insurance company for 18 years, and underwriting was easy. Now with all of the data that we have, underwriting is going to change, and somebody has to learn how to underwrite the autonomous cars. They learn how to underwrite what's going on the web, because we have moved from
your drone
moving online. But the question is, how do you ensure that, and what are the equations to underwrite such a
yeah, it's crazy.
process?
Well, and introduced to that, the new Facebook frames or whatever they are, the glasses, and then drones that'll probably be hovering over us in the next few years, and be portable satellites, portable Wi-Fi. We're probably this nest of hovering drones providing infrastructure, and they're all going to have cameras to some level. And so I think the biggest point of all this, and the sticking point, is how much is society going to value productivity and prosperity over privacy and individuality?
Well, in southern Louisiana, we used to fill up the stop sign with 22s. maybe we have a lot of those things shot down.
And see, I'm an old Irish boy from Boston. We tend to be a bit rebellious and I not go along with the flow. So as I get older, I'm getting easier. I did get vaccinated. I did do this. I wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. I don't know. I'm just a different person.
Yeah.
We have another area of worry which is associated with cybersecurity, and that is the condition of our major bulk power equipment, and to what extent it might have been compromised by manufacture in China. I've been looking at this quite a bit, don't get any good answers. I'm shut out by DOE and Health and by Homeland Security, and find a lot of caution in the high levels of the utility industry to talk about transformers that may be infected with bad sensors that could act as Manchurian candidates. And we don't know about it. We don't know enough. We know that one of these transformers was taken to Sandia National Laboratory and disassembled, but we don't know what was discovered. Nothing has been said. There is now a filing in FERC which may reveal some data, but that doesn't solve the problem. It's just another layer of concern and uncertainty.
Exactly. Well,
I can tell you, Llewelyn, that I do have some insights into a lot of places, and what they have found is not good for China, and it's pretty troubling.
I used to have very good sources. I used to be very friendly with the director at at Sandia, but that was a long time ago. And there's an entirely new crew, so I don't have sources there anymore. But I think it really was very troubling. I think it's something that the rest of the utility industry is not yet fully aware of, that there is a source of liability there that is not calculated into most of their assumptions.
Yeah, I would say that the federal government is on top of it, and they have been tracking all the systems, and
Well, it was the federal government that grabbed a transformer destined for the Washington Western area power supply, and
they're
it
just not
disappeared
sharing.
in the same year.
They're just not sharing the information, Llewelyn, but I can tell you that for what I know, and I don't want to, say more than that, that it's a serious thing and the government is on top of it.
I'm never sure the government being on top of it is too reassuring.
That's all I can say, unfortunately. But Jim, we are, in closing, tell us again real quick. I should buy GridMonitor. Why? Why should I buy GridMonitor?
So you can save a lot of time and effort in your regulatory affairs and information management and get much more output out of your existing staff.
Right. And your subscription model, I take it, is fairly accommodating to me by myself or me.
That's right. We have single, we have group licenses, we have email only licenses, and we're very accommodating. Good.
So the URL is gridmonitor.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to keep making this product the most amazing thing that ever happened. And hopefully one day we will look back and remember that conversation we had with James Curtin as he was driving this unicorn company that was yet to be discovered, and it's transforming how energy trading happens in America.
Well, thank you very much, Andres, and you're going to be a big part of that with helping us promote the product. So thank you so much.
There you
go.
Well,
it's a pleasure, John. Very much a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. I would like to. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'll send you an email. I would like to. I do a lot of big data analysis.
Mm-hmm.
All my work now, I create my own data sets.
Nice.
Of big data.
Let's get some coffee.
Yeah, we have to get some coffee.
Yeah, or something else,
And we need to do that. Some coffee, tea, play a little guitar together.
There you go. Well, again, no promises, but thank you. I have to close by saying the reason I asked that song was the song I played when my dad was passing. So his anniversary was like 2 days ago from like 6 years the anniversary, but
yeah,
that just popped in my head because I was thinking of him. So
sure,
we are all our father's children and mother's children. So
yeah,
that's right.
All right.
Any last words, Llewelyn?
Well, yes, Jim, don't forget, when you get established back in Boston, give me a call. I'll send you my information and we'll get some lunch or a drink or something. And then we can have an unfettered discussion of these other two.
I would love that. And it might be soon, you think, if my friend comes through, he's a CIO for the Red Sox. They might have tickets for me next week. So I might be up in Boston. As well as at the Astros.
Well, it's really been fascinating to have you, Jim. I'm glad that there will still be some room left for journalists when you have AI doing the job we have done heretofore. But at my age, I needn't worry too much.
No, I think, Llewelyn, it's going to help you put together like so much more powerful, impactful pieces because you're going to find so many cool things to integrate into your story.
We're not that smart. We're not that smart. We're journalists. We try to get it written and go for a drink.
If you saw 60 Minutes Sunday, then it's already here.
I didn't see 60 Minutes on Sunday.
Well, they can take your likeness and have words coming out of your mouth while you are in.
Look, I've been speaking Serbian on the Voice of America for some years. Both Linda and I used to do broadcasts from both the Serbian and Russian service, and we'd see these playbacks of ourselves speaking Russian or Serbian very convincingly. I don't speak any Russian or Serbian, except, very late at night. And very late at night, I might try another language.
Yeah.
Llewelyn, I speak English, French, Japanese, and jive.
あ、そうですか。日本語を話しますか？
お元気ですか？
あ、そう。私は、
number one, John Boulay. I taught in Japan for 14 summers.
I lived there for 10 years and married a Japanese woman. So.
Oh, okay. I lived in Kokusai Bunkai Kaikan.
Okay, well, I live in Roppongi, so ha.
Roppongi.
That was part of it, but yeah.
Well,
I was
Kokosai
about 40 foot.
is right there at Roppongi. Yes.
Yeah, it's
You
exciting.
guys. Johnny, take us away with some music.
All right, here we go.
Thank
Here
you,
we go. Here we
Jim.
go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Jim,
Arnie.
it's great to be with you.
Well, you know, my friends, feel it's their appointed duty. They keep trying to tell me all you want to do is use me. Yeah, and I want to spread the news that if it feels this good getting used, or you just keep on using me until you use me up. Yeah. Yeah, until you use me up.
Nice, John.
I love it.
Say
All
more.
right.
Cheers.
Thank you all.
That was
Excellent,
fascinating.
guys.
Thank you,
Fascinating.
Jim.
Yeah, take
Bye,
care.
you two. Bye,
Bye-bye.
all.
Goodbye.